Hi, my name is Tony Thompson, and Jerry, I have to thank you for the words that you brought out, talking about utilizing your company's tools for directing your money from your paycheck. My old company gave me 8 different options to use, and I took advantage of all 8 of them. The only other thing that I would add is that internet savings accounts are great because they don't allow you to be able to access that money right away. It takes about 3 days before you can get it when you want to go get it, right?
I like that tip.
Yes.
Can I use it?
Absolutely. One of the best things that I saw in the show, they talked about you don't ever get compliments for the money that you save. And I'm very used to that, you know, driving to work and sitting outside in the parking lot is my 2006 Chrysler next to someone else's 2014 Mercedes-Benz. And, you know, I never got the compliments for the things that I was doing or coaching about saving money. It also talked about we have to figure out a way to make savings more sexy. Yeah. How do we get that point across to our younger children who are seeing the videos and all the different marketing advertisements that are going out to them to buy the latest and the greatest sneakers and clothes and those things, to show them that saving is something that's going to help them in the future?
It's really hard.
Yes.
It's really hard. But you know, you reward people from the youngest age when kids are getting an allowance. If they're getting an allowance, if they give some of it to charity, or if they put some of it aside in a piggy bank, you know, make that a big moment. You know, that's an M&M moment. That's a good thing. But it's hard because the messages compete so much. But you know, if you're able to sort of, you know, when parents talk to their kids about money, or when kids talk to their parents about money, and you frame it in terms of wants and needs, sometimes if you limit yourself to, well, I really am going to focus on my needs, I'm not going to focus on my wants, and I'm good with that. You know, that's sort of the attitude that you need to inculcate, and it's hard to do.
Yeah, the trick is to start when they're very young. I'll never forget my middle son. We were at Ocean City, and we had the bank of, you know, quarter machines that you put a quarter in and you get a gumball or something like that. Well, there were like 4 of them. And I think he was 3 years old. So I'm an economist, so I'm going to have an experiment, right? So I had a quarter in my hand. I said, okay, Ryan, you only get 1 quarter, and there are 4 different machines. All right? So once you put that money in the machine, that's all you're going to get, right? So he chose the one that had a little football helmet. So he put his quarter in, and he got his little football helmet. He looked up at me and said, give me another quarter. So I think 3 is too young, but maybe 4 or 5.
Well, and you know, you just made saving sexy. Because that 2006 Chrysler sounds really good, you know? And we all ought to be okay with that. We ought to be okay with our brick phones if we still have brick phones. I'm not even going to ask how many people still have a brick phone, but you should be okay with that. And if you're okay with it, that's really all that matters, right? And that's where you make it sexy.
And I think it's important, you mentioned starting early, but I think it's important to also reinforce often, because as much as I may tell a child, you know, saving is great, you need to save for the future, the moment they leave my sight, they go into a classroom where they see people with brand name clothes who get attention. They turn on the television and they see people flashing lots of things in front of their faces. And this is the message that's reinforced to them through what they hear, through what they see. So we have to not just say it once and think that that's enough to make it stick. Just as often as they're hearing from these other outside influences, we need to combat that with something positive that says you look inward, you look forward, and you decide what's important. And if that means saving is important, then saving is important.
Well, that's interesting, because in the documentary we did see something about the nudge, whether it is a positive reinforcement or a negative reinforcement. Back in the day, you used to get a toaster if you put money in the savings and loan. What's your feeling on these incentives as early as like 5 years old and on for us grown-ups?
Well, I think they can really help, and it depends on what they are. You know, if there's been some research done on prize-linked savings, for example, so that especially among low to moderate income populations trying to get the unbanked banked using banks or credit unions, offering some opportunity for a prize, even if the individual doesn't necessarily collect the prize, that creates this collective desire to participate in the saving program, and so that can have a positive effect. So those kinds of nudges are being experimented with really all across the country to some pretty good effect. And I think we need to learn more. We need to devote more research dollars to understanding what can work, because the field of behavioral economics is fairly young, and we haven't fully exhausted the pros and cons of using those kinds of nudges, because nudges can sometimes cause us to do things that maybe aren't in our best interest. So we need to find that balance.